Maverick 100.9, Aggie Land's country alternative. It's Corliss here, joined by a man from Oklahoma named Houston. Houston Bernard is here. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so great to hear that you've got new music that you're pushing out. You've been doing this for quite a while, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Got that traveler soul in you. So which single is this for you? How many have you
Uh,
put out?
well, I mean, this is off. This is actually going to be the lead track off my sixth country album, which I'll release on Veterans Day this year. But yeah, Ditch This Town. I think it's the third single I've released to Texas Country Radio.
Okay. Isn't it
Yeah.
so funny how you can be experienced in one aspect of the music and then you come in with a whole different thing, which is radio, and they're kind of separate, and it's fun,
Right,
but it's a lot of work getting to that point.
for sure.
Well, I'd love to talk about your new single, Ditch This Town, because just by the title, sounds like we're talking about Hoisington, Kansas. That was the town I had to ditch. So tell me a little bit about this tune before we take a listen.
Sure. So the song is basically about, the guy is in love with somebody and she leaves town and he has to decide whether or not he's going to chase her and, she's trying to follow her dreams. Is he gonna chase her down and be like, "Hey, I want to be with you," or is he gonna stay in the town? So ultimately, I think he's gonna decide to ditch this town and follow his love.
Just from personal experience, that's the best choice you can make, at least with the best person. I'll give you the example is my now husband. When we met, we had both just gotten out of 6-year relationships. And his 6-year relationship, she had moved to a big city about 2 hours away from his hometown, and he didn't want to go. That wasn't his place. And so
Yeah.
they decided to end their relationship instead. Whereas he and I meet, and both of us are like, we shouldn't even be in a relationship. Like, we have just gotten out of big deals. Like, we shouldn't do this. So we did it anyways. And I think 9 months after dating, we were moving to Oklahoma together. And then a year and a half of that, I drug him to Texas. But I told him from the get-go, I was like, man, I got stuff I got to do in this world, and I got places I got to be. Are you with me or not? And
Yeah.
he said, I'm totally with you, and has never argued since.
Oh, that's great. It's a
So
dream right there.
exactly. I'm gonna have to show my husband this song now after we well, we're gonna do the debut, and of course be back with Houston Bernard to chat more music. But first, this is the debut of Ditch This Town on Maverick 100.9. Due to copyright, Brian Broadcasting is not licensed to air this single for you in podcast form, but you can now find it anywhere that you stream and download music. And today's interview continues now. That was Houston Bernard, Ditch This Town on Maverick 100.9. It's Corliss. And you mentioned you've got a new album coming out later this year. Give me all the juicy details.
Well, I've been writing it and recording it for the past few years, and it's darker than most of my music, so it gets a little real and in touch with me. I put a lot out there that I normally wouldn't,
Sure.
but I just felt like it was time, and all these songs kind of made sense together. So there's 11 songs on the album. There's titles like "Broken" and "Ain't Like Me" and "Ain't No Friend of Mine."
Sounds like somebody went through a lot of life lessons these past few years, a lot like all of us.
Yeah, well, some of that stuff was, me dealing with stuff I didn't want to deal with for many years.
Uh-huh.
Like "Ain't No Friend" is about a pretty mean stepfather I grew up with and didn't want to deal with that stuff. And I wrote with my writing partner, Britton Cameron, and we were just talking about stuff. He's like, "We should write this song," and I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't want to talk about
No,
this."
we're doing it. You know better
And
than anyone that writing that music can actually be the most healing process of your life, or I hope it was for
it
you.
it can be, but sometimes it's like, you just want to let sleeping dogs lie and
Yeah.
not deal with that stuff. And then it's like, well, am I going to be singing about this and then dredging up these emotions every time I do the song? But I haven't performed it out that much. Acoustic shows a couple, but I haven't decided how much how much I want to dig into that, or maybe it'll be therapeutic for other people, which is, my whole idea of writing songs, yes, getting stuff out there, but also communicating with people and just being in touch with people, because that for me is really inspirational. Meeting people when they say, "Oh, this song really means something to me," because I know what that feels like.
Hmm.
To have songs from other artists, and it's like I listen to the song to feel this feeling or to deal with this thing, or even just to rock and roll and party. But
Yeah. But we do.
so hopefully it does communicate.
Yeah, we all find our souls in music. That's why we're all here, why we even listen in the first place. It's but you do have to take a huge chunk out of yourself to give it to other people, and that can be exhausting, it can be grueling, and you kind of have to make your decisions as you go if it becomes too much.
Yeah,
From the set, man. Like it's some people don't realize how much of yourself that you're actually giving.
it's true. That's true.
But it is great to be relatable. I'm curious about the significance of releasing this album on Veterans Day, you said?
Yeah, Veterans Day.
What's the significance behind it? Are you yourself a veteran?
I'm a veteran. Yeah, I was in Army for 9 years, and then everybody in my family's been in the military. And then, of course, I have I mean, there's a lot of people that support the military,
Uh-huh.
but in my personal opinion, I don't think the government supports our military enough.
We'd all agree on that, to be honest. I think both of the things you just said were so agreeable. Like the general public, of course,
Yeah,
totally loves and respects what you do, and we'll show up to every fundraiser, anything.
yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to the people that are actually in charge of taking care of you, literally, they tend to drop the ball a bit.
Well, they're too busy infighting,
Yeah.
and it's like wasting our time and wasting our money and making us look like fools for the rest of the world. But hey, let's not go there.
Right. Of course. We got it out. We'll shake it off. But I mean, everybody can connect to what we're saying there. And it's
Yeah, so where I think most of us can agree is supporting the veterans. And for me, I thought it would be a good date to really represent and show how much I appreciate veterans. Many of my friends and family have been in or are in, and I just want to give a shout out, and this one's for you guys
yeah,
and gals.
I love that. I love that. So funny that this actually got brought up with me this week. Someone asked me, why do you know? My massage therapist asked me, why do you know so much about Hawaii? And I had to explain to him that most of my friends have been stationed there. And he's like, what do you mean stationed there? And I was like, well, okay. So my dad worked on Fort Riley in just outside of Junction City, Kansas. My father-in-law was actually head of maintenance at Fort Riley, and I was a DJ at a bar in Junction City, Kansas that was the go-to Army bar. And so anybody and everybody that I loved during that time of my life often left. So I made new friends all the time, and I lost a lot of friends all the time, but I got to learn about a lot of the Army bases around our country, it's kind of cool. I've always prided myself on being a very cultured person, especially when you come from Kansas, which is basically a big slice of white bread. That's all it is. It's flat and soggy, man. So it's
Flat and soggy. Oh, I love it.
flat and soggy. I mean, even moving to Texas, I wanted to move here because my parents used to take me to San Antonio, and I got to experience the Mexican culture for the first time in my life, because you never saw things like that
Yeah.
where I'm from. And it's so great to have friends and people from all over the place. And I'm sure you would agree with that. That's actually one of the plus sides you get from the military.
Yeah, for sure. And I've spent a lot of time in Europe as well. And I try to have a worldview about things because it's so easy just to stay in like this echo chamber and just hear the same things from people you agree with all the time,
Yeah,
which can close you off to like reality,
yeah.
and also other people's opinions. And I think it's ultimately a good idea to be respectful and kind to people. And I think if we focus on that, everything else falls into place. But once you focus on these other little minute details and conspiracy theories and all this nonsense, you get lost.
You do.
And so I try to have a worldview about things and focus on being kind. And
I
that's
always
very simple.
I always tell people turn off your TV and go have a conversation with a stranger.
And be respectful.
Yeah,
Like, okay, we disagree and that's cool.
yeah.
Like,
But
I
I
disagree with a lot of people.
if we yeah, always, but I think if we talk face to face more, it doesn't get lost in translation so
Oh
bad.
yeah.
You can still see the good. My favorite, which what an opportunity for me as a was I 19, 18, 19? I was an 18-year-old when my dad was contracted through George Washington University to work on the army base in Qatar. And I
Oh
got
wow.
to visit him and talk about some people that are just the complete and total opposite of you. Like, I couldn't order a sausage pizza while I was there because they don't eat meat. It was a dry country. Alcohol doesn't exist there. And smoking is celebrated. Like it's like I'm making simple suggestions as to, but on the other hand, I hadn't seen my dad in 5 months. When I got off the airplane, I could not hug him. We waited until we were in a dark parking garage because public displays of affection are illegal, but we respected that culture while we were in that city. And because
Yeah.
we just opened our minds and we learned that the people were beautiful and their beliefs are beautiful, and it was a really cool experience. It's always going to be a have an actual conversation with people before judging type deal.
I think that's a good rule of thumb right there.
I think my dad got to teach me a lot of lessons that a lot of parents have not had the luxury of. I also love people from Boston. If there's anybody from Boston, I love you. I
I
love
I spend a lot of time in Boston. I play a lot of shows in New England actually.
Really, yes, all the
Yeah.
New England states, the people are amazing, but it's super weird. It's not like being from here at all.
No, no, the Northeast can be pretty abrasive.
Yeah,
But if you see through the abrasiveness, you see there's actually some love in there.
yeah,
It's a funny thing, like that they'll say, "Hey, a-hole," and they mean like, "Hey, buddy."
yeah. It's you really got to let your guard down and open your mind a bit, but yeah, it's it
Yeah,
wicked. Everything is wicked. It's wicked awesome.
yeah.
Oh man, what an adventure I've already gone on with you. And I'm sure you could talk all day about the beautiful places you visited. But obviously, thank you for your service. And
Oh, thank you.
thank you for even after 6 albums, now letting your guard down and showing a little bit of your truth. I know that's going to be a bit of a painful process for you, but I think you should be thanked ahead of time for it because it's not an easy thing to do. And you've done yourself and probably the people that listen to you a good service for doing that.
Well, thank you. I do hope that people relate to it, and at the end of the day, I'm proud of it, and it's therapeutic. A lot of it's therapeutic for myself, but if I can relate to other people and it helps other people or entertains other people, whatever, I'm that's a cherry on top for me.
100%. And so, once again, everybody can look out for the new album from Houston Bernard coming out this Veterans Day. Follow along with him and you'll get more details on that. Plus his brand new single, Ditch This Town. That's downloadable, streamable anywhere that you want it. And
That's
I
right.
assume you're probably, since it's summer, you hitting the road quite a bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. I still have some stuff popping up, but mainly I've got a lot of festivals, fairs, and a bunch of private parties, which I love private parties.
Oh yes, oh yes, and we all know why. Well, that's great. It sounds like a lot of opportunities. are coming your way this year. So if y'all want the opportunity to see Houston Bernard live, like I said, follow along. That's what we can do to help these independent artists. Buy tickets, buy t-shirts, buy albums, go see shows. It's pretty simple to share this country music love of ours.
That's right.
Well, thank you for coming to finally join me here on Maverick and to debut your new single. I have had just a great time getting to know you.
Thank you. Feelings mutual. Thank you, Corliss.